fly, boss walk, jam, nitty gritty. You're listening to the boy from the big bad city. This is Jam Hot. This is Jam Hot.
Welcome to Who's Hot with your host, Wil Chung.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the latest UKOCR Who's Hot podcast. My name is Wil Chung. I'm the host, and I am here, as always, with my two elite races. First of all, I've got Becky Neal. Becky, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Will. I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm very good. And also, I've got Chris Shipley. Chris, hello.
What's happening, everyone? How's it going?
Yes, how are you guys after a very bloody cold Sunday afternoon, morning in Birmingham?
Yeah, it was so wet, wasn't it? Like I drove there and back on the day from the south coast, and I thought it would be better than that. Especially it was a bit of a come down after being in Spain with Megan and Das a few days before. But I like racing in the rain. Usually, I don't mind it so much. So I was filling up for it. But it did not clear up on the journey there, and then spent the day outside. Obviously, I think I didn't get quite as cold as some other people. I saw a few blue lips and some big shivers and shakes, but I did spend the afternoon huddled in a porter cabin having a meeting as well, which was a bit chilly. But I think we managed to find the only heater in the whole place.
Nice.
Yeah, there was definitely a storm at Storm, wasn't there?
Oh, there it is.
Check you with the professional segue there. So we are here, the three of us are here, as always, to talk about the recap of Storm 3K, which was the British OCR 3K Championships, along with age group, power and open waves, which I took part in. This was at Fordham Gym down in Redditch, Birmingham, only last weekend, Sunday, the 12th of November. Chris, let's go back to you. I saw you slip. Well, you did slip off the rig, didn't you? But you managed to hit the bell at the same time as well, somehow.
I would call that falling with style, I think. So that was a bit lucky, going through the mid-rig. Yeah, just about managing to keep my hands high enough to hit the bell. So, yeah.
Don't worry, I fell with drama and screaming.
With drama. On the same rig, Becky, wasn't it?
The last one.
Yeah, the mid to low.
Yeah.
It was a tough one. Yeah, tough rig.
Yeah, I got about two holds into it, and then I fell off. So yeah, really, really difficult, guys. I guess let's start with we start to talk about the weather. It was cold. I was hanging around to watch the elites go off. I went off later. I was getting quite cold. Actually, it dried up for the open waves. But Chris, you went off first. What was the weather like?
I think we went off last, actually. Did we go? Sorry. Before you, before the ladies, but after the age groupers. So, yeah, the weather was raining. It was very, very wet. Obviously, you also had all the people that had gone over the obstacles beforehand, but most of the rigs, they all had a Taurus attachments, so they were very grippy anyway. But it was mainly the technical obstacles that made things interesting.
Let's talk about. I've got the top 10 here. Hopefully, it's the correct one. Probably looks right. So we'll start off with the men, and then we'll talk about your race there, Chris. Morgan Maxwell, first place, Fergal Keeney in second, and our very own Chris Shipley in third, followed by Jack Carpenter fourth, Finlay Greenleaf in fifth, Tommy Matthews, David Tucker, Gavin Hogarth, Alex Young, and Jesse Betts in 10th place. Also, it went off in what, groups of three or four?
Yeah, groups of three. I think because of the lack of marshals, I think they probably changed it down to 3 people per wave, just so the marshals had a bit more chance to see any mistakes that anyone was going to make on the obstacles, because they only had 1 marshal per obstacle, especially per technical obstacle, and I think it was just a bit difficult to spot anything that was going on. And it worked really well. Yeah, it was a shame we didn't have that sort of real fight going on, but I think it worked really well for the sort of integrity of the race.
I thought, I mean, I watched your particular wave go through most of it, and I think the three of you were kind of battling it out as you was going on. Take me through your race, Chris.
So it started really well, actually. I was in a wave with Morgan and Gavin, so I was in a really good sort of, a group of people anyway. So Morgan already sort of gave his race strategy out on accountability corner. He said he was going to go off hot
Just
as a
go out hot.
pancake, but he was lying. And I definitely knew he wasn't going off hell for leather because he was quite sustained on that. So that went off quite well. Went straight into the sort of carry obstacle. That was over the over-unders, which was quite a nice little change. And then where do we go after that? Up into the over the wall thing, the bridge, which was really cool. So they had a rope climb that went over a bridge, and then you had to like climb down a net. That was really, really cool. It was a bit scary actually. So, but even the juniors made like light work of it. Was really good. And then we went into the strength section, and that was the bit that Forder's gym sort of put on, and that was really quite hard. Gavin overtook me on that. He's very strong on that because he's been doing a lot of high rocks training. And then we sort of ran out from there over the balance beam, which was, I think it sort of changed a bit because it started off being like quite an easy obstacle. Because you had like one attempt on it, it made it really challenging. And I think it became quite a mental obstacle. So I think a few people sort of failed that during the whole day. And then we went into the field, and then it was the technical obstacles, and they were very, very rumble sort of orientated. If anyone's ever been down Rumble doing any sort of training, they'll know the sort of obstacles that Rumble like to put on, and they were very Rumble sort of style. They had ropes, you had to put in a lot of foot lock in, very technical, but you needed good technique to complete them. It wasn't all about just using strength. You had to have a multitude of techniques to actually get through them, and it was really, really good. Made the impact of the race change a bit. It was cool, really good to see actually in a UK competition. And then after that, it was a bit of a run. Then we had a few sort of not so much mandatory easy obstacles, but things like the rope traverse. You had a inverted wall that was really difficult because you couldn't use the bar to get over it, and it was caked in mud. I don't know what it was like when you got there, Becky, but it was slippery. And then you came down, and then it was this like really muddy section. You had to go through a tunnel, and then I think Dave was saying about it there, it was like a really low crawl. And then you had to crawl through it, and it was like, then at the best bit of the whole race, you had to slide down because I think where it got so muddy, it wasn't like going down it. Yeah, it was like a proper slide. And then everyone was caked in mud after that. And then we hit the low, mid to low rig, or mid to high to low, and that was full of Toro's attachments. And that's where I had that quality fall in with style that everyone can see. I put it on my Instagram, so if you want to check me fall on my ass and just managed to hit the bell, it's on there. And then we had the real sort of muddy section. That's like totally what British OCR is all about. It's all about mud. I think ever since OCR has been in the UK, it's all been very muddy. And I think Dave put that on at the end to show that that's what sort of the UK is about. And he positioned it really well because you had that real hard mud slog and then into a tire drag. And anyone who's got really good strength in their legs sort of managed to stay strong on that bit. And then it was the finish. So it was a real good race that had all the elements of an OCR, had the strength, had the technical, had the mandatory, and it had the running element to it as well. So it was really good.
Nice. You didn't explain the penalty bit though. I can tell you about that.
Yeah, go on, tell us about your race, Becky, a bit.
Well, I mean, we haven't finished talking about the men yet, I guess. I think
something
interesting about the men's result is looking at the time differences. You know, we've talked about how it was really good for the integrity of the race to have smaller waves together, and it definitely felt like if there had been 10 people in a wave, it would have been absolutely mad because there's only 2 lanes on the obstacles. If it felt busy, or I watched one of the other elite men's waves, and there was 3 of them at the balance beams at the same time, so naturally somebody has to go behind, which also puts pressure on other people. So imagine if there's 10 people that are that close together. I wouldn't know how you would necessarily see them or rank them, but obviously they put some consideration into that. Is it better to be with people who are more similar speed, or is it better to have a fastest, a middle, and a slowest person so that they won't be next to each other on the thing? I don't know. Anyway, but the time differences in the finish times and the people on the podium who came from different waves, have you got those results? Did you notice the time gaps? There was 1 second in it.
Oh, what, with Morgan and Ferg? Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And
they didn't race head to head.
No, but that's the thing. I mean,
and both of them could have gained or lost seconds at any point. Probably, do you think that that was like there? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, I mean, we all know that you can't ever let off on a 3K. You've got to really push. It is essentially a time trial. Even in the major competitions abroad and overseas and things, you still have to fight against the clock because, you know, you just don't know where anyone else is going to be. Yes, sometimes it's probably better to be with like the people that are going to be closest to you, but then it's not going to work sometimes.
I think potentially the way to do it is start one person at a time at minute intervals, so then you're never directly.
So you're all in the same boat.
The same, yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
And if you're past someone, you pass them quickly, or vice versa. But then you don't know who's won. Like the person who crosses the finish line first isn't necessarily the winner, so it's hard to spectate and everything.
It's quite nice at the end. Did you find that at the end when you're sort of waiting and trying to think, oh, what's the times? And you're thinking, oh, did I push hard enough? I know you had a bit of a slip up, but you know, I mean, it's nice to sort of.
It is exciting, yeah, and we could find them out pretty quickly. It was literally instant. We had the results there, and with the small elite field, yes, very exciting.
Becky, let's talk about your race.
Well, it was cool. It was exciting. I think the start was pretty fun. I think nobody really knew what to do at the start. But I had asked and I had watched the others, so I was like, I was starting with Fede and Lou, and the music was so loud in that container, and there's smoke everywhere.
That was epic, wasn't it? That was absolutely epic.
This might make you feel a bit nervous, and I was like trying to say to them, as soon as the doors open, we just run. They were like, oh, here we go. I don't know. Should we go? I'm like, run. The time is gonna start. I don't know where we crossed the line, but like the time is ticking. Let's go.
I didn't think of that.
So I just sort of, we all burst out of there. It was quite fun. The running bit at the start was nice. That AstroTurf was a delight. I don't know why I thought there would be more of it, but
it didn't last as long as you think, did it?
Yeah, and especially if you tried to like look at the course beforehand. Did that in my mountain boots though. Anyway, got to the sandbag and knew which one I was picking up, and me and Fede at the front, and then I did a good job of throwing over the thing. Actually, I was quite surprised at myself. I think I was just trying really hard because I knew that wasn't my expertise necessarily. But actually, I kind of led that section, and then Fede was with me, and we went over the Bridge of Despair together. I think the pull was actually all right. Like that move, I mean, a lot easier than High Rocks. Obviously, like High Rocks, I can barely move it, but that's the pro weight. This one was like nice and smooth, and you could just like pass your hand over your hand, and it worked nicely. And then me and Fede were doing the tire flips together. I found like they were quite long. Like towards the end, I was tiring a bit, like the last couple of flips, and I think that's so Fede got off that just before me, but we were running together. She had good speed despite doing cross country the day before at an amazing pace, and doing 3 days of Spartan racing the weekend before as well. But yeah, like you're saying about the balance beam, I think it seemed like it was, I think there was more mistakes on the balance beam earlier on in the day, and it definitely was raining more earlier on in the day. And as soon as it starts to be a thing, people kind of maybe expect to fail it. But I try to be confident usually in my balancing abilities. And so it wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I managed a little overtake. And then we started all the other rigs together. The Z Wars thing which was probably...
It was long, wasn't it?
Harder than a Spartan one. Yeah, it was long, quite wide. And like I did feel slippy because when you got big lugs on, because I knew it was going to be muddy, then it's harder. And then the monkey bars on that, to the one where you go under the Rumble banner, the monkey bars are well fat, like in your hand, especially like women's hands. They're bigger than any monkey bars in any other race, definitely. Like those big shiny ones, like it felt bigger than a scaffold bar. I don't know if it is. You've probably remembered it, and Dave will know. But it felt like the biggest monkey bars I've ever been on, not in terms of distance between them, but the actual bar itself. And it was quite long. but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm glad there was a step, but there was only one. There wasn't in the middle, so that was good. But yeah, that wasn't as slippy as I thought. I was wearing gloves. Went under the banner. Okay, it was nice to have that little T-bar after it, and you could miss out the last thing and get to the bell. So that was nice. Nice long rig with a bit of technique, obviously, like you've practiced at Rumble, like you mentioned. That was cool. The low rig was hard. I think only Libby managed to do it in the elite women's race. So out of 6 or 7 people, 7. And I saw Beth do it in the age group race as well. So they might have been the only women. We were just struggling. So me and Fetty started that together, and we came off like before halfway probably. At the bit we had to go from like, it's just a long reach between some of the things, and none of us bothered with the figure of 4 techniques. I thought we could manage it. And yeah, it was hard to get that short rope on your feet when you were holding onto the other thing, which was far away, and then get that big ball afterwards. And me and Lou had a good go at it for a bit longer, so that's where the gap developed. And then actually that roll over the bar was really nice. I quite liked it with I tried practicing it on like a slack line because I don't have a ratchet strap at home, a sling, sorry. But it was definitely different to a rope, but I actually found it quite nice, and it was easy to kind of roll over the top, which was cool. I think there was a clarification of the rules for that earlier on in the day, because in the rule book it just says you can go over the top, but you can't go feet first over the top, so you can't do like an upward circle in gymnastics. You have to go muscle up and then over forwards. That was the confusion there, but it's all good. It was fair in the people who they were racing against. And yeah, then we did Fetty was ahead up the hill, Lou was just behind me, and then I utilized the mudslide as well, but I did it on my back. I realized at the finish line that nobody else must have done that because I was the only one that was clean on my front. So I did it like cage crawl in nuclear, when you go on your back and you slide along your back, because then I could just pull myself along on the roof, didn't get my hands muddy, and just slid down on my back. It was head first, so it was quite fast, and I was worried I was going to hit my head at the end, but I basically just did a backward slide. I think I made a gap there.
Nice.
And then the wall was after that, Chris, and the women were allowed to use the steps on the back, not the verticals, right. The steps on the back, and we could fit our fingers in between the top slat and the last and the top beam. So it was actually totally fine. I didn't find that difficult at all. And then you bombed it down that gravel kind of hill bit to the mud rig. And yeah, so at that point, Fede was on the rig. Lou was kind of just a bit up the hill. Shai was in the next wave with Karen and Libby. And yeah, it was okay. I kept my gloves on because they've been okay so far. I took it carefully and it was going fine. And I decided in my head, I took a bit of extra time deciding, which hand I wanted to wear and stuff. And then towards the end, I was thinking, okay, don't mess it up now. So I'll just be extra careful. I'll use all the attachments instead of skipping one and being a bit arrogant. But actually that made it worse. I should have just swung because Shai and Lou didn't use the last attachment. They swung. That's what I felt like doing at the time, but I decided not to, in that split second. So I used my hand in the last UFO, and then I went to bump it to hit the bell. But I was too good at holding on. That's how I'm saying it in my head.
Them sloth hands.
I couldn't get my fingers out. My fingers got caught inside the attachment. So I basically tripped over the attachment, and then by the time I got my fingers out of the UFO, I would come off. So I just got stuck in it. I don't know whether it was because of the gloves or because I've been practicing my campus boarding every week on just my fingertips. And also the top hold ones, which I've been on earlier in the week, aren't deep. They're really shallow. So just a bad execution on my part, but can hold back the scream of frustration as I didn't hit the bell. And I think Lou was starting the rig at that time or on it. So she nailed it. And we ran around the muddy bit together, me being a bit moody. And then we all tried to, all three of us were on the sled, tire pull at the end together, because we really found that really hard.
It was heavy.
Fede and Lou are both excellent at that kind of, strength moving obstacle. I had a technique where I put the straps around my shoulders and put my arms across my chest and like cut them down with my chin kind of thing, try to use everything. And once you had a bit of momentum, it was all right, but getting going was really hard. And when you had to like turn it around at the start, turn it around at the other end, and overcome some of those like bumps, it did make it quite challenging. But yeah, all three of us had to do at least one penalty. So I was running with that with Lou at the start, but Freddie was already ahead, so she had a nice safe win. So she did really well, kept up the speed really nicely and executed it all really well. It's just that low rig that got the women really. And then I tried to pick up the pace on the penalty loop because I knew that the others probably wouldn't have 2 penalties. I just messed it up at the end so they could probably do it, especially as I'd seen the other 2 do it as well. So I knew I would be on the disadvantage. So I tried to do the second penalty, well, 1.5 penalties really fast. I like snatched my second band from Julie as I went by, like pelted it to the finish. But yeah, I think I was about 30 seconds behind Shy in the end. So yes, 4th, not 2nd.
We've all been there. It's horrible, isn't it?
It's horrible. I feel, I know it's not all about me, but I've come 4th in the last 3 events, and 2 of them have been the national championships, and it hurts.
I say this sometimes to other people, and I don't want to be like, 4th is the worst place to be, isn't it? I've been in 4th, and it's a real sort of sore one because you're just off, and it is
especially
frustrating.
if you've been like in the mix, and then it's like execution is one of the harder ones. But that is the game we play.
That is racing, yeah.
Yeah, and I've done. There's been times when I've been on the other side of that as well. So, yeah, it's a good humbler, good reminder. Keeps you going.
Keeps you accountable.
There you go. Yeah.
You need
I've been training.
Need to build up on those attribute points, apparently, right? Right, Chris?
That's it. That's what they are, Will. They're attribute points.
Yeah, thanks, Darren, for reminding us like a week too late. Just to go through the female elite results. So, Federica De Carrier, 1st place. Louise Furman, 2nd place. Charlotte Duherney in 3rd place. Becky Neal in 4th place. Karen McQuarrie in 5th place, who then ran open, and she was having a good play on the rigs too. And Libby Joyce in 6th place. I watched a lot of the Karen, Charlotte, and Libby, and it was just unfortunate for me. I think the only thing that was a little bit unfortunate was the timings. It would have been nicer to be able to have maybe the male and female elites a little bit further apart, so I could watch all of the male start to finish and then all of the female start to finish. It was only kind of basically I picked, okay, I'm just going to stick at the start, take some photos, take some filming for you guys, and then get to the finish whenever I can. But it would have been, just I guess a bit of feedback. If we would have been able to space them out a little bit, I would have been able to capture a little bit more. But some really fun, exciting races across everything. What did you guys think to letting the age group go first? Maybe churn up the course a little bit for you elites first, but I thought that was pretty cool as well to watch what was going on. Maybe because I know I walked with Becky on some of the course, actually to see the course and how people were trying to handle it, and maybe give you an idea of how you would have handled the course ready for your race.
Yeah, I agree. I think
definitely beneficial. Yeah,
I think like what we've seen before at like Worlds and the team relay, team race, for example, things could be ironed out if needed as soon as, like, I know we had loads of test runs and everything for this, but until you put lots of people together in the event with the exact timings and everything, sometimes you don't know how it's going to all work out. So starting with like a smaller wave or one with different kind of consequences, like not selection and things, then sometimes that is a useful way to kind of prevent any more severe consequences from happening as a result of any kind of mishaps or mistakes. So I kind of appreciated that. Thank you for being almost the extra tests. But of course, all of the races are important. So whoever goes first is going to have to do that at any stage, which I think is why James Parrish likes to have some of the more competitive races on Sunday, after he's let the course settle, as he says, on a Saturday. but I think it like builds up the hype as well. Like sometimes the techniques that the elite racers use wouldn't be used by age group racers. In fact, it might be scary potentially. So the age group racers watching those is probably less advantageous than the elite watching the age group racers, just to see how, not necessarily even if they don't do the same technique, they can see like how much movement there is, like what the gaps are, what the sizes are, what the things. I don't know. I feel like it works well that way around.
Yeah,
I didn't mind it being churned up, and then we have to deal with that. That's the con that you get. Like the first attachment on the rig was covered in mud. I don't know how. I guess everyone had been crawling on the hands down that muddy slide. But that first one was like the cone shaped one, which is harder than like a T-bar one, and that was really muddy on all of the things. Like you couldn't pick a non-muddy lane for your hands. And that's what the elite racers had to deal with, which is cool. Fine.
Yeah, definitely enjoy it that way around. It's nice.
Be interesting to hear everyone else's thoughts though.
Yeah,
age group races.
I think the only people who probably didn't like it are the people who go first.
Yeah, which is usually you or I. Yeah. I meant I could drive on the morning. I was trying to get there early to watch everybody, but it did mean that I could drive for 3 hours in the morning rather than the night before.
Yeah, and I even had breakfast. I messaged because Jason and Richard was in the very first wave, and I messaged him. I said, "Look, if I don't make to see you, it's because I'm eating breakfast. Yeah, breakfast comes first." Food before bros, isn't it? Or
something like that. As Becky starts to start eating. We also had the Power Wave. So I'll just go through the results of the Power Wave. Jamie Gain in first place, James Rudge in second place, and Dylan Darby in third place. Got some feedback on a voice note from Jamie, which I will put in here.
Hey Will, hope you're okay. Just thought I'd drop you a quick voice note. The race was really, really good, really fantastic from a power race integration standpoint. There was a really good mix of obstacles. Great to see a new upper limb para guy. So we had 4 athletes, and unfortunately one of them had to pull out halfway through due to injury. But I finished having cut 2 of my bands, which was good. And then another chap had 5 of his bands cut, because we start with 5 bands, so that was quite good for him. And then the other chap had 4 of his bands cut. So it was a good mixture of obstacles that adaptive athletes could do. Wonderful mix of terrain. I think the fact that there was tarmac was really accessible from a para race perspective. So overall, it was a really good race. I'm happy to elaborate on further bits if you want, but really well put together, and I hope the podcast goes well.
So Jamie, thanks for that feedback there. Becky, you was just talking about some feedback from age group waivers and everyone else. So as always, I put in a post, well, not as always, because sometimes I do forget, but I put a post in the Facebook group for British Obstacle members, and I'll always ask them for some feedback. I've just got a bit here, so you guys relax while I go through some of this. First of all, Julie Botwood, that you've already mentioned, Becky. I didn't compete, but as the marshal who was sending people up on the penalty loop, I must say it was seriously impressed with how well balanced the course seemed to be, and the band system seemed to be perfect for all. With those with penalties were definitely punished in terms of positioning on the results table. I also loved how the elites had the hardest time in the mud after everybody else had chewed it up. It felt right that they ended up with the hardest version of the course. Smiley face. Rachel Brown, one of the best courses I've done. So much jam-packed into a 3K race. Love that there was something for everyone, whether that was technical rigs, running in mud. Boy, there was a lot of mud. We'll come back to that. Carries, crawls, or sleds and tires. Would have loved to have the weights heavier for sled pull, but understand they were going to be heavier initially, but were changed on the morning of. I think it would have been really interesting to see how it would have affected the course and the results if heavier weights were used and if they slowed people down or needed longer to recover. Nathan Hawkins, I think it I think in drier spring, summer conditions, and with a few more participants, a spectator buzz, it would grow into a must-attend event. Can see potential for some awesome head-to-head type racing on that course, and it all involved did a fantastic job to make it feel like an individual event and not a copy of another course out there. 100% I'd do it again. Stu Canning, for years I've been in love with 10K courses, but after my first 3K at Forders, I think my head have been turned. James Pickman, brilliant course, so much packed into such a short distance and well designed to challenge you. I really enjoyed it and thought it was going to have... I really enjoyed it and I thought I was going to have a heart attack by the end. Lou Ferriman, what can I say? An obstacle course race with everything in it. A proper test of all that we are, all that we love, and all that we trained and work so hard for, where you pay properly for technical mistakes. Loved it. Atmosphere, course, timing, pre-race build-up, MC, support marshals, and podiums, all spot on. Thank you. Alex Young, a brilliant course, well run with a great team supporting and marshalling. Great mix of obstacles, and you really did have to be good at everything to succeed. Philip Erie, it was cold, wet, and muddy conditions that normally destroy completion rates. Testament to Dave Peters' experience that fine adjustments were made to ensure the right balance on the day. The obstacles were varied and interesting and tested all attributes. I was in the 50+ wave. You should have seen us at the start, jumped into the container with blaring noise reverberating around us, all cupping our ears and looking confused. And finish off with Helen Gilmore. Was a fantastic course and great venue. Just the right balance of rigs, climbs, lifts, carries for that distance. The start in the container was original with the banging music and smoke. I felt like I was in SAS Who Dares Wins. It got the adrenaline going for sure.
Great. That is so nice to hear. So many good things. And yeah, the course really was varied. And Helene is so well racing, like she's recovering at the moment. And Shyla, who was on her SA Dares Wins, was ill as well and she beat me. So, you know, there's lots of people who are not 100% at the moment who like got out there, gave a new race a go, and it's really great to have positive feedback and have people that are happy with their performances as well. So I think it's a really nice way to kind of end the series. There's also some really strong performances in the age group races. The overall age group fastest man, Ramunas, was 21:13, which puts him, I think, in the top 4.
Yeah, I think it was one of the only people who got through clean as well in the age groups. Yeah. So
yeah. Well, it would put him 4th against the elite times.
Nice.
Yeah. Right after you. Well, not half a minute. So yeah, some pretty good times there. So it was we've got all the pictures of the age group winners when they got their podiums and their medals, which was really nice to see. But Ramunas, Chris and Ollie were all pretty decent speeds, and I think Lindsay Young was the fastest female age group, and then Laura Hayward, who had to run off very quickly after, didn't get to stand on the podium, unfortunately. But yeah,
the podiums were really good. Yeah, I thought the podium was really good for the age group. It was all good that it was all there and they all came up first. You know, it was a good event for that bit.
Yeah, and it's nice to have like the Forders gym have the marquee and everything, and food and enduro there as well, and like the medals and I think Stuart Amory, having him on the start line and presenting the awards and everything, actually made a really big difference. Like the buzz was pretty cool, and there was more people around doing the other event. And some of the women came up to me afterwards and like, "Did you do that? I've never seen people do like women do that so well. It was amazing to watch." I was like, "So you want to join?" You can practice here every week. So that was kind of cool. But yes, Stuart Amory on the start line was like reading out everybody's stats, like giving a proper intro, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like."
Didn't Lindsay write all the sort of
information?
I think she did it. Yeah, and she said she must have wrote some really nice things about everyone. Like hearing them all was really good, and like it gave you kind of like a sense of achievement when you were just standing on the start line. You thought, "Oh, this is really cool," you know. Yeah. And then because Stuart was reading it out, and you know he's got a brilliant voice, and it was real hyped up. I just wish there was a big crowd there at that start line, just to like appreciate it a bit more, but I think the weather just sort of dampened that a little bit.
It would be different with different weather, and like more time, and there's going to be more events, and it's going to grow, so it's only really going to get better, right? But yeah, I was bent down doing my shoelace up, and I hear, do you know anyone that's done an obstacles race on Everest? I'm like, it's like, it came to me, it's like, oh, okay, we're on, it's happening. So that was exactly a year ago, by the way.
Nice.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh,
On Everest Base Camp exactly a year ago tomorrow.
wow.
But isn't it amazing? We'll talk more about the atmosphere and the buzz, because the music was pumping. We've just talked about Stu. He was absolutely fantastic, and when I first started hearing him introduce people, I thought, oh my god, that's such a great touch. But the crowds, there was guys doing the Decker there was still age groupers watching, and there was everyone around, and I just thought that the atmosphere on a cold winter's day, we're into winter now, but I was thinking, and some of that feedback to say, just imagine when that's if we do this in the middle of summer, and this is going to grow into a massive event, and if you just think, in the summer when there's hundreds of people around, the music blaring, how amazing would this actually be? This has been a fantastic start, and the buzz was just off the charts, and again, introducing the elites was absolutely fantastic. But I know I'm repeating myself, but I just was getting shivers down my spine on just how much of a buzz there was in the atmosphere and in the venue.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, if it's sunny, like families sit in the middle of the field watching obstacles, like in every direction, not having to worry too much about like where they are and everything. So I think it's got a lot of like potential for growth as well in terms of what can happen there.
It's real spectator course, isn't it? There's lots of areas that you can just go and sit and watch, and even the start and finish are so close together. You can watch the I think what everyone's currently calling Bridge of Despair, and just watching that as people have gone over. Then there's a big green part in the middle of the grass where you can watch the 3 or 4 rigs as people are running up and down. So it's going to be, such a great spectators course when we get more and more people going. I can't kind of just say enough of how well the obstacle course itself by Dave was put together and handled, but just the organization of people and the food and the music and the decor and everything else that was going on. It really made for such a great, fantastic event.
Yeah, and quite a few people did do that decor event as well, like Freddie and Ferg did it. Did Jesse win it?
Jesse won it, yeah. Jesse won it, yeah.
And I saw a lot of other people from OCR there as well, which was really nice. It was a good way to like share an event, and it'll be helpful for crossover in the future. And I think maybe a couple of people have mentioned it already, but I think it's Tom who built the obstacles for Borders. Really solid job, right? Like they were
really great build.
Yeah. So people are kind of happy, really excited for that. And that means, could be more.
And they're permanent obstacles that are going to be there for a long time, and they are built to last. I can't see them going anywhere soon. So
you know your stuff. But yeah, I mean, Dave's obviously put a lot of effort in being the race director. So like, thank you, Dave, so much for all of that, and whoever else is helping behind the scenes, the technical officials and everything, really made a difference.
And it was good to have an obstacle race that had everything that we needed in an obstacle race. It had aspects of strength, agility. What else you got? Balance. That's agility, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. We've got the definitions in the rule book if you fancy looking at them.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, it had
psychological.
Everything.
I was going to say, don't.
It was dark, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. I actually thought it was going to be worse, and that was the only bit I couldn't like go and see beforehand, those tunnels. But then it was totally fine.
It was just so loud in that music bit.
Oh yeah.
At the start, and I'm a bit mutton. I can't hear very well. And I was like, this is going to do my ears no good.
Too much partying.
Too much partying.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, guys.
I'm just looking forward to the next one, basically.
The next Storm event or the next National Championships 3K?
Bit of both. I mean, I think that was That's basically our first proper 3K championship we've actually had in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Really. And we've had the qualifying race at Nuts, but this was actually the first 3K race. And hopefully we see a few more of them, because I think everyone enjoys them.
Yeah, essentially we've been trying to encourage more places to put on shorter events to enable people to get through the selection process for those international events and to practice them so we can do well internationally. So yeah, if people, training centres are thinking that actually maybe we could do that, then get in touch with British Obstacle Sports and see what we can figure out together.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for the wrap up there. My thanks to Becky Neal at the Runner Bean UK, and also to Chris Shipley at Obstacles Race Dude. This concludes, I guess, Who's Hot for 2023. In a way, we actually are coming back for one more, sometimes more, maybe towards Christmas, to wrap up the whole of the season of the UKOCR series, and also all the championships that we've covered. But it has been emotional, guys, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. But thank you for your time through this. And Chris, I still remember first time in March that we all got together in that hotel, and you got your little notebook out and.
I know, and you're still putting up with me somehow.
Mark's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah, he always has. I'm sure. Yeah. No, it's been a good learning process, I'll call it.
Yeah, I mean we're open to feedback too. Like if we've forgotten to, if we started doing something that we used to do and we stopped doing it and you miss it, or if you think there's something that we don't do very well every time, or then let us know. We can take the feedback.
Oh yeah. We love criticism.
I bet you get loads of that on Accountability Corner, don't you, Chris?
They go through Darren. He's the he's HR or hair R now.
And of course, we've got Alan looking after the HR account and the admin account. So yeah, any feedback, let's say call it critical feedback, go to admin@ukocr.com. But anything good, please do post it on Facebook for everyone else to see. Serious guys, I guess, yeah, if anyone wants to give us any feedback on what they would like to hear, whether it's more or less about the elites, whether we want to get more RDs on to talk about the course in a bit more detail, or whether you want to hear about age groupers or paras or elites who are talking about the race once it's finished, we're more than happy to listen to feedback to make the show better. But we digress. Thank you again, guys, for being our co-host for 2023. Thank you to UKOCR for giving us this platform to talk about the UKOCR series and all the other really important races that the UK has to offer. As always, thank you to British Obstacle Sports for supporting us and being there to support the UK OCR community in general. My name has been Wil Chung. This has been the recap of the Storm 3K, the British OCR 3K Championships. Thank you to Becky, thank you to Chris, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side.
Alan here, everyone. Hope you really enjoyed listening to Will, Becky and Chris there. That's the last one of this year, I do believe. But if you do enjoy what they're doing, as they said, give them some feedback. Hit me up at admin@ukocr.com. Good, bad, critical, however you want to give it. We always try and make all of our shows better for you. Yes, we do. In the meantime, what have we got coming up? Friday of this week, listen to the Swift Half. I am going to tell you what happened to my race at Escape from Meriden. Why didn't I complete it? Why did I DNF'd? I'll tell you more. Might not be a big story. Big enough for me, but it might not be a big story. In the meantime, if you like what we're doing, hit us up on Patreon. We do have some Patreon-only releases, so if you look up UKOCR on Patreon, you don't have to subscribe. You can just listen to extra podcasts. There's a great one on there at this moment in time from James Burton and WTM as an extra bonus for everyone. Yes, head over there, do that. Please leave us a review if you like what we're doing as well. Instagram, Spotify, all of them. It also helps us put our podcast a little bit out there. And if you're into OCR, as you know, our podcast is all about sharing the love. Hang on a minute, because you might get a couple of bloopers as well from this episode from Will, Becky and Chris. Speak soon. Bye.
Fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss
The Storm 3K British OCR Championships. This has been the recap of the Storm 3K British OCR 3K Championships. We will see you. Oh, for fuck's sake.
You were doing it.
Alan is going to have a field day with this one.
We'll see you in the next one. That's what you're doing.
Basically, that was all it's going to be.